Hi everyone. Wait, apparently we have a technical issue. Give me a second here. Okay, of course. Right as we were gonna start. Okay,
Yeah.
give me a second here. Something's wrong and we need to fix it. Ah, something had to go wrong, right?
Yeah, it's only to create a mood.
Uh, Give me a second. I'm just trying to figure out how to get Raquel back into. There you go. Now I
No,
know it.
there you go. Can you all
Woo!
hear me well?
Feedback
I
is
think so.
appreciated. Letting us know. I think. Can you guys
Yeah,
listen
for
to
sure.
us? Can you hear us? Please answer in the chat. We want to know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the lack of feedback means no one is listening to it, or the
Then
or the chat is really slow, which is also a possibility. Yes, they can listen to us. Great. We have feedback.
Yeah,
It's the
thank you.
it's a 30-second delay or like a minute delay. Okay, welcome everyone to the first ever unboxing designs here from the Friends of Figma Portugal. And I'm gonna let Raquel introduce herself first.
Yeah, so my name is Raquel. I'm here from Lisbon. In case you see some cat here is normal. I have three, so this is a very cat-friendly podcast. So you're not delusional in case you see different cats. Yeah, I've been doing UX UI for a while, and now I'm doing design operations at Volkswagen Digital Solutions, working on design systems and so on. So yeah, and now I can pass a little bit to Bruno.
Okay, thank you. Bruno here. Um, some of you, as I've seen in the chat, know me, and actually some of you are. Hi, João. Um, I currently work at OutSystem, and I've been there for the past 6 years as brand designer, currently lead designer. But I've been working with Figma tool and actually working with Figma as a community advocate since 2020. And yeah, that's it. Like, we're going to be talking about some cool stuff today. Yeah, Raquel, if you want to talk about the series, this is your um, mind child. I don't know how to
Yeah.
put it. So
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
ahead.
I understood. Yeah. So basically, the inspiration was so simple as when you search for unboxing for a new product, and then it come to mind like, why not do an unboxing of design systems? Because it's something that you usually share with colleagues, and oh, let's take a look at this web page, and let's take a look at the components and how it works and so on. So the goal is to basically to do a brief analysis just based on our experience, what we thought or what we think it the goal of the pages itself, the documentation, and the Figma files. And yeah, we are using the design system repo from designsystem.com, which is a site from Figma, by the way, in case you don't know. And there you have all the design system information. You have articles, and then you have all the schema videos, if I'm not mistaken, and then you have the repo. So in case of spoiler, or you want to guess the next episode, you might want to go to the repo and take a guess. That might help us eventually. Yeah, so this is the website. And then when you scroll a little bit, yeah, you have here the schema by Figma. Then you have here some articles to design and development, which it's good to read a little bit. And then getting started. Also, when design system regarding typography, colors, and iconography, and so on. So very good to educate yourself. And then eventually, I think you'll have the repo. Oh, design operations a little bit smooth.
Yeah, and
And
only
then
then.
yeah, yeah. As you can see, we have here a lot of them, which is good for us, right? To do more episodes with you. And today we choose Uber, which is based basically. So just a quick introduction about Base. It was created in 2019 and apparently is an open source. Actually, I thought it was a very more closely to and focus on Uber, but it's actually cool that it's open source. And yeah, and then it's a cool thing that when you're at home page, you will have, if you scroll a little bit, you can see actually that more companies are using this. So it's not only Uber product itself, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, in case you want to know or to say that you're also using base web, it's good that you can go to the GitHub and tell them to say hi. And then it's very cool that they have like a contributors page here, a list, which I found it very cool. I think it's interesting that the homepage that they have, it's not that fancy one. Usually on other design systems, you have like
Yeah.
welcome to this design system, and you have the intro, then you have the foundations and then the components. This seems right, get to the point, right? Okay, you are here, you know what you're going to do, so let's get to it. And I think it's actually they also do that copy when eventually you will reach to Figma file, that this is a design system more focused on designers and engineering. So I found that very interesting. And I think when you think about the target group, it's also good to know the target so you can therefore create a design system more appropriately to that target.
Yeah.
And makes me wonder also that the design system is not only for designers, right? And I think we start to see that more and more.
Hmm.
Like engineerings and developers are also be here, so this is also be development friendly because we might design a lot, but in case they don't know how to implement, yeah, that that's a little
Definitely.
bit uh, painful. So yeah, eventually, if you want to see more about Uber and Base, they have a schema talk. Eventually, we can share the link afterwards, which they talk about the latest upgrades that they did. If I'm not mistaken, they talk a little bit more about the latest internal plugins, which is cool. That I see that it's tendency that each company is doing more internally plugins, probably the more compliance stuff, more security issues, and mostly more dedicated to the people. So I think that's a good thing. I think it was in London, but not sure. But I can share the
Let me
link
double check.
afterwards.
Let me double check.
Yeah,
I can probably get
yeah,
the link on chat really fast if I save it for.
yeah. And I think
Uh,
it's a very interesting talk because eventually they show like a little bit step forward of the maturity of their design system because they talk a lot about data inside design system, which is not a topic that usually see people talking, and they create plugins to get that data, for instance, which I found it very cool.
I
And also some plugins to, I think, to do some themes, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But it was
I remember
interesting.
back at the first conference in San Francisco when they were already sharing a lot of amazing work that they were doing at Uber internal plugins. Here it is, right? I think this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it.
yeah. That's the
Forming.
one.
Gonna
Yeah,
drop the video URL here to the chat, so if you guys want to save it, it's already there.
yeah,
Um, but it's a really interesting way of work. They've always been this very um, pragmatic team. I've
yeah, yeah,
always
yeah.
heard
That's the
about them
vibe
like
that I
building
feel.
tools for
Yeah,
themselves, which is really cool, and it's more and more common the way that teams run nowadays. So I think it's gonna be fun to just look at how they built their own design. By the way,
yeah,
if you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop them in the chat. We're here. We want to interact with you, not just showcase things. This is an unboxing, but it's not just from us, it's from everyone in the room. So keep bringing those messages and don't be afraid. I know that they are showing up over there. It's just that it's better for everyone to understand who we are talking with. Okay?
yeah. So maybe we can jump into the Figma community, Bruno,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
you can show the Figma assets.
There we go. Okay, so basically every little design system that you've seen on designsystem.com you can find it on community and just duplicate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our Figma and we're going to go to the explore community tab that it's over here on the top on the right now, which is a new location in case you haven't looked at community a while.
Ah,
Before
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it was
before
usually on the left, right?
before
Yeah,
it was only here. Now you can actually just click this button and immediately go into the communities, which is a lot faster. I love this improvement.
yeah.
And yeah, basically you just need to go and search for it. You click on design systems here. There's already a big pre-selection of the latest design systems that are trending. So a lot of other fun stuff too. Actually, This one is now my favorite, which is a
Oh, that's
Windows
so good.
98 type. So I love this
That's so
one.
good.
It's so good and super complete. But today we're actually looking at Uber base, so just gonna look for Uber. Um, it's easier to go through the creators, just because sometimes the results
Yeah,
are not as accurate. So you can find immediately Uber here, and they actually have only two files. Their config talk with all the information, and then base gallery. Right, this is there. Sorry, here. And then
yeah,
base gallery, which is essentially the Figma file with their design. So any file, if you've never done this, you're doing it for the first time, it literally is open this, you click on get a copy, and you're gonna get a copy for yourself on that design. Wait, my
yeah,
window, my window just rescaled, so you guys can hold for a second. I'm just gonna try and make my Figma whole again. Let's put it like that.
yeah. I think it's a very good sign when a company expose their assets and components, right? Because you have to be like fully confident to share that with the community. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how people handle those things, right? Like, I've seen I've seen a progressively open source way of dealing with design systems, the way that we build things on the internet, right? The fact is, Base is all set up on GitHubs. That's where all of those people that support come from. You know that you can get help from anyone who's interested in just pushing the boundaries a little bit. At the same
yeah,
time, and I've heard this a lot of times, we're noticing this on design now. But the fact is, on actual like coding, it's super interesting to think about how many things in the world are built on top of open source, and they are heavily
yeah,
dependent on the goodwill of a few contributors, which is super scary at the same time. But let's see what
yeah,
that
yeah,
actually
yeah,
means for us at the time, because I think it also brings the same risks but in a different way. So when we think about engineering and code design systems and that we have on open, tend to be that they have a direct impact in the usage of things, the security of it, the stability of it. With
yeah,
design, I think the issue that might come out of these open source projects is if they are being developed with the right mindset. You know, like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
some
for sure.
sometimes when we think about design systems, or well, sometimes when we think about design overall, we forget about the fact that this has like a long lasting impact that has to do more with societal way of work, or like biases from someone on the way that things are built, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
those biases become embedded in the standards. So
yeah,
on one end, it's great that this is being open source because it opens for a lot of people, but then it also depends a lot on what people are actually contributing to open source.
yeah. And especially the company needs itself, right? So
Yeah,
each company will have their own problems and their own ways of resolving stuff and their own tooling and so on. And that's, I think it's a big pain point in most of the companies because it might be a little bit frustrated, kind of like see all these tutorials like it's only this and that is this will work wonderful. And then on the real life, you have kind of like, oh, but we don't have that kind of framework, we don't have that kind of tool, this and that. So I think it's good to learn from design systems that we have out there, but also be realistic and adapt that knowledge to your current job or a company. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So yeah,
it's very different. I've noticed it. Like, hi Telmo, welcome. So yeah, I've noticed how those things kind of like, there's no one shoe fits all. That's basically it. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and we need to understand what that means in a lot of different manners. Talking about. So, wanna
yeah,
start deep diving a little bit on the document?
yeah, 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 for sure. I just like to maybe start with the setup page just to give a little time on the website,
I'm gonna
just to
invite you
give
to the
some.
document, so you can also
Yeah,
be here and I can follow you.
yeah, thank you. If you can just jump a little bit on the website, because I would like to mention how very code friendly this is. When you go to the setup, for me
Mhm.
at least, I'm not that. And by the way, I think if you're a designer, you should know at least the minimum of code That's just a big advice that I give you, like CSS and so on, because it really helps the conversation and to understand, in fact, how you design. And I think this setup is very code friendly. You have all the tutorials, and I think you even have like a pop-up at the end that shows you how to you manage to try and create your own. Not sure if it's here or other page, but yeah, I think it's learning based web. I saw it here eventually, and if you dig in, you have a lot of support and all the steps to create stuff and to install things, and I think that's very good. Yeah, just to give your a little bit of code dedication that sometimes is a little bit forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool to see how we got to this point, right? The fact
Yeah.
is, these levels of documentation are super interesting. They are very engineering friendly, as you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
designers don't have the patience to read everything. At least
Yeah.
designers like me. I'm sorry. I love to write documentation, but I have very much trouble on reading it. I love to just go
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really
I
fast,
know. I know the
zigzagging
pain.
into it, or I go directly at the one thing that I know um,
Yeah.
I need. Maybe if you put a video there, like I'm gonna consume it. But like
Yeah, for
this amount
sure.
of
Be more
content.
visual, right? With
Yeah.
examples already and ready to use. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you guys think? Like, give us comments. Do you feel like this is a good way of setting up a design system? Preparing for collaboration, we want to know. So again,
Yeah.
the chat is open. Keep them coming, and while we keep going, drop your questions,
Yeah.
drop your comments, and we want.
Yeah.
But
Before
it's
you just go to the Figma file, I just really like to also give a big thumbs up on the theming page
Mhm.
if you go to the guide and the theming,
There we go. Starting.
because
Yeah.
at the beginning it's very undercover, like because I was trying to finding out about typographies and colors and so on. And basically what I found out is that this is the way that they set up design tokens for a person that would like to create a theme. And I
Mhm.
think that's a very cool approach because it's not that usual on the open source design system. And then you create your own default theme, and then they teach you how to define the values for each one of them. And then you have the theme's properties on the right side, and then you have yeah, a little bit on the middle. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
animations, borders, breakpoints,
Ooh.
colors. There you go, colors. And then that's when you start to find out something about colors, and
Uh,
that's animations.
my
It's amazing.
ADHD self just wants to stare at this animation.
Yeah. 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 I
But
get you. Yeah.
it's really cool to see how this documentation can be very simple at the same time, very complete and very
Yeah,
efficient.
exactly, right? I think it's too much, but I don't feel overwhelmed by seeing this because I understand all the logic behind.
Hmm.
Um,
And I love,
especially if you are a design token enthusiast, for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I also like the way that they kind of like they make sure that you understand what the
Yeah,
big difference on the token is by making it the biggest element, right? Like break theme dot breakpoints dot small, medium, large. Like
yeah,
this is a
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah. Big a
interesting and
big
visual
entrance.
way
Yeah,
to
yeah,
help you navigate this really.
yeah. So you
What?
start to see a little bit of colors here, but
Yeah.
very in the third level of navigation, which I found it very funny because it's usually like on top
Hmm.
of navigations, usually. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, hands up who here actually builds dark teams and light teams and actually builds
Yeah,
gray scales for each one of them because many
yeah,
people don't. I know that. I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
yeah,
But
for
it's really
sure.
interesting. Ooh, I love the fact that border transparent needs to have a RGBA.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good touch. Not to be like with no color. Yeah,
Now I'm gonna say something that is a little bit more geeky but super weird that I always felt. For example, I'm used to using the X for the color codes, but then the
yeah.
only tool that I never had to worry about the RGBA was Google Slides, which is just like it's not the best tool in the world, but they actually do a really cool thing, which is they have two extra digits on after the hexadecimal where you can use still the same language to control opacity.
Ah, okay.
So
That's
instead of being 6 digits, it's an 8 digits. Where the
yeah,
last two is like FF white, it's like full zero transparency, basically like 100%, and then 00 is like completely transparent, so you can basically play around, and it's easier to do that if you kind of know where the numbers are too.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
it doesn't introduce as a new model just because you want to regulate transparency, which I feel like that's actually quite nice.
Yeah, they know what they were doing, right? Basically.
On that, yes. On
Yeah.
everything else, I can't say
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
Yeah, but
um,
I found it this very, very interesting the way you because it's usually like on top level and then you have it here more design token and then basically from what I understood from this, if you are other non-Uber company, you can take this formula and then you define your own design tokens and take this as a good basis to start, which I think it's a huge, huge help
mhm,
for those who don't know how to start with,
yeah,
because you already have a lot of layers and a lot of values actually defined. So I found
mhm.
it very cool.
And
I think
I
now we can.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just
Go ahead. Go
before
ahead.
before jumping, I love the small
Yeah, yeah,
detail where the scale is very consistent and very small, from one to for 100 to 1,000, which is like everything that you
yeah,
use on a system on a regular basis. But then after 1,000 is like the expressive part of the system, so you basically jump like 1,200,
yeah,
1,400, 1,600, 2,400, 30. Like the font
yeah,
sizes
yeah, yeah,
just, or the sizes, because this is a spacing thing, right? Like just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
bursting.
yeah. For
It's
sure.
really interesting.
Yeah,
Google Slides for hacking color shades. Yep. Yeah, actually, that's a really cool trick, Ismail. I never thought about it. Like just going with the little shades there, it's probably simpler. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to Figma.
yeah.
So have you been into the file already or not? Question.
I think so, but let me just see if I received. Yeah, let me just accept it. Afterwards, I was told following you, not in a stalker way. But yeah, in case you don't know that feature, it's very helpful on conversations to
Yeah.
follow a person on Figma. And I think they already have the audio. I think no, I already used, but not sure if all
Mm-hmm.
versions already provide. It's very cool to have also a chat, a call inside of Figma. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that the call is usually just for pro and org.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it
Yeah,
also
that's why
works.
because I'm not seeing here, so I was double guessing. Yeah.
No, no, no. But I just updated and moved it into our team. It's on my drafts. But it's super interesting to think about how these things kind of work with the Figma, because people sometimes don't know what to expect from one of the levels. But yeah, so the calls inside of Figma, they come out of pro level or org team, or if you're an education team, you can also have access to that. I
Yeah.
love to use it, but I still prefer my pointer at, because I have too much fun sending or kind of like making people
Yeah.
chase my messages.
Can you tell the shortcut because I never find it. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, for Portuguese people,
Ah,
here's the
because of the
thing.
shortcuts in the
So
keyboard. Yeah.
if you ever have some issues with Figma on shortcuts, over here on the bottom right corner where it says help and resources, you can change your keyboard layout, and you can also see all the keyboard shortcuts.
Amazing. What?
And this is
Yeah.
actually a gamified thing. So if you did the shortcut, it turns into blue. So basically, you're saying that if you have everything here filled, you used all the shortcuts that the tool has to offer or not.
Amazing. Oh,
And
so
for those
fun.
of you that actually might have been having issues with the regular shortcuts that Figma offers, they did an update very recently when they added support for a bunch of new layouts on
Ah, that's
different
so
languages.
useful.
So for us in
Yeah.
Portugal, you can actually select Portuguese, and the key on the Portuguese layout now is the comma. So you can actually just click on a comma
Ah,
and say hello.
that's simple.
Yep. Actually, because
That's very useful.
the comma acts as, I think, the backslash to
Ah, yeah.
FigJam stickers on normal files. Yes, Ishmael, I would love that. But it would be chaotic, and I also can be chaotic on my files. And I am the guy that names the layers, just everything else. But basically, I think the comma in Portuguese keyboards kind of replaces the backslash on American ones. So you actually, if you do
Yeah.
command comma, you actually open the search menu now.
Ah, that's search. Yeah, I already tried
So
1 or 2 times, but I always forgot. But that's a thing with the not because it's a comment, but sometimes you don't want to do a comment, right? So that's very
yeah,
useful just to say hi and I'm here and look at this.
yeah, that's basically it. And
Yeah,
yes, Paulo, so much faster with shortcuts. Yes, I work in everything with Figma just using shortcuts. I don't know how to work without them. I'm teaching classes, and when the students are still learning, I kind of struggle
yeah,
because I need, okay, so here's how you do it. And then I go like, you do the short. No, I can teach you the shortcut first. I first need to tell you where the things are on the layout. So I need to wait, and like I break myself.
yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so just from the get-go, looking at the way that the system is built, without even entering the components, we already have a bunch of styles really well set up, really well distributed here.
Ah, they also use t-shirt size logic. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, I always like that one.
I actually, I don't know, and this is also a question for the audience. Do you prefer to use the t-shirt or the clothes size logic for sizes, or are you like me who started like that, but now I'm going like full on token and like I just use always the same scale, 0 to 1,000, 0 to 1,000, or 100
Ah,
to a
okay,
thousand,
okay. You
because
already have your habits.
yeah, because for us it became more. We're actually building our own system also at the same time. Out systems. We're redoing our design system because of a lot of rebranding work. And one of the things we're actually doing is that, like, we define the scale, much like Uber has done here, right? Like this scale that you have here, and we use
Yeah.
the same logic for every single object that we have outside of this.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So
So you
for
you do it in the scale. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. So, and we actually don't have a set scale. We have a variable unit base scale where the RAM is defined as a baseline unit, and then we use it
Yeah,
for
yeah,
different
yeah,
parts
yeah.
of the system. So, for
Yeah.
example, we have density controls. So we have these values as like 100, 200, 300, but it's like the baseline would be this one from the 2 pixels, which is like what we call an high density scale, where everything is a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Um, but we actually have a medium and a low density scales that adapt to different mediums. Like we have high density scales for print or for small display ads, and we have medium scales for websites and regular digital mediums, low density for
Yeah.
video and more display social cards and stuff like that, where the things need to be a little bit bigger. And then we even use the same logic to, for example, think about printing on bigger formats like boots for
Yeah,
events.
yeah, yeah.
So it
Yeah,
kind of makes it
yeah.
so that the system works outside of just digital spaces, and it's
Yeah,
really
that's also a good point, right? To be even the whole picture, like the whole economic environment, let's say, like printing to digital. Yeah.
yeah.
You,
And
if you consider to be that wise, yeah, you have to think about all the that sizes.
yeah, and then you can use using tokens. You can use the alias, the
Yeah,
aliases to
yeah.
like hide all of
For
that information.
yeah, for instance, on colors, they at least what I'm doing now, they're all design token friendly. So I don't have this primary secondary organization. I already have like text for this purpose, background for this purpose, because they're already more design token
Yeah,
friendly. But yeah, it's
but
interesting.
I love this. Like the all has the all the tokens. Then the primary, gray, and secondary only has
Yeah,
the system
yeah,
tokens,
right.
right?
Black
Like
and white. Yeah,
it's the aliases. Like it's really cool to see it like that.
yeah.
And
And they also
also,
have a
they
good
also
name for shadows because sometimes I really don't get how people name shadows, and this one's they're they're smooth. Yeah,
by the way, if you've never noticed, Figma actually has a really cool detail where all of these usually have the little preview, and for fonts and colors it's easy, but for shadows they actually have the direction of
yeah.
the shadow, which is really fun. When I'm looking for them and trying to apply
Oh, I
them,
never noticed. That's so fun.
yeah,
Ah, that's
and the same with
amazing.
columns,
Yeah,
like the direction of the layouts,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's always on
For
the
grids,
preview.
I noticed. Yeah, but the
But
shadow, it's a good point. Yeah,
I
that's
actually don't know
nice.
preview on the now. I don't remember
Yeah,
how
you
the
might
blur
have to
is.
do one to
I
see
need
if
to
you
build one to see.
actually built. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like I think this is already really well set up. I love the fact that there's so much detail on grids, because there's even grids for
Yeah,
buttons,
yeah.
grids for typography, for artwork lists. Like,
Yeah, and I think grid is such a pain point topic, right? Because it really depends how the designer is, whether they're using marketing layouts like a big web page with a banner hero, or they're just creating a digital product. So maybe they have like tables and dashboards, and they have to be more systematic. So grids, at least for me, it's a little bit pain point to define all around. And they have a fantastic grid here, so it's great because they already prevent probably a lot of, let's say, not grid friendly.
yeah. And if we go here on the website, let me just all the way to the top.
Yeah, I
Please
think they have already something.
add a button to jump to the top, people. Please. I don't know how this runs,
Yeah, yeah. That
but
I'm missing that button as well.
I
I
was
think you
looking
have
at all the
grids on
information.
the right side. Yeah,
Oh, here, there you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Because it's again part of the style. So columns, gutters, margin, gaps,
Yeah,
and maximum width. Nice.
nice
It's
one.
laying it
And
out
probably
there.
you have more. Yeah, then you go.
There you
Merge.
go. They have a bunch of
It's
really
also
cool.
interesting to know their big breakpoint because they probably work for web until big landing pages. So it's interesting also to
Mhm.
learn what they consider. Yeah, they
Yeah,
also do
it's fun.
12 columns, so it's good. Yeah.
Oh, but I love one thing, and this is always a deal breaker with a lot of people. They only use one column for small sizes.
Ah, like a big, just one container, let's say. Yeah.
They're like giant container, which, honest to God, okay, under anything under 320 is almost impossible right now. Like we know that smartphones have evolved to the point where 320 points, not pixels, let's put it like that, are almost always the smallest resolution, and they use
Yeah.
4 columns for that. But the fact that they created a one column below
Yeah.
that, it
Yeah.
tells a
It's
lot of
bold.
story about it's bold. It's very very bold
Yeah.
because it needs.
Yeah.
It also means that you need to have like a really bold smart or
Yeah.
scale down the window. Because,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's fun, and I like how the documentation then also works with here because you have JavaScript, you have Flow, you have React.
I believe so, but not sure. So in case anyone at the audience know, please correct us.
Or but this is really cool because the examples of how these are built always have these little code boxes, and
Yeah.
for every single thing that the designer does, there's also a developer counterpart in the way they build this, so it's super fun.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you don't have to do like a big visual asset. You just, by that tiny grid, you can understand right away. So it's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
it's really simple, small documentation, works really well. Okay, jump into components. Let's see how long it takes to load all of the components that they have. I was fast. Okay, my internet has not been the best. I hope that the streaming is going out okay and everyone is actually listening to us perfectly. Also, I hope you
Let's
enjoy the
hope.
music.
Yeah.
And I like
Yeah.
this. This is fun. This is
Yeah.
space.
As
Great.
in case it's not obvious, this
In
is the
case you don't
base.
know.
I
And
like the fact that colors work on dark and light mode. I just realized that when I was searching for it, and then I kind of like, oh, the colors work, most of them in both ways, which is cool because usually you see like a more vivid color than a soft color when it's dark mode, and then here you don't see
oh,
that much, so
but
it's good.
I actually think that they have adjusted colors for each one of them.
Mm.
Uh, so
But for instance, on foundation, I think they are
we are
similar,
not
right?
listening to the music in case you don't know. So I think the music is too low and these people are not listening. I'm gonna raise it a little bit so that they don't
Okay.
they are not listening. Oh come on, they deleted the comment, but I'm just gonna make it a little bit higher to see if anyone. Let us know when you're listening to the music. Apparently, I made it too low. I think the problem is it's too high for me and too low for you guys, and that was the issue. I hope now that you can
Yeah.
hear a little bit on the background. Um, but yeah, like let's see, yellow, which is always a very interesting color to play around with.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's
Accessibility, right?
there
No.
you go. Let's pull the both yellows, and it's the same. It's the same. You were
Yeah.
right. Right.
Yeah. No, and I found it interesting, at least the foundation, so that they seem to be the most primary colors.
Hmm.
And down below, they seem the same. So it's interesting because they didn't do a variation of the colors. So I found it interesting.
Yeah, but I think that also needs to be well. Actually, no. These are the 400s and these are 500s. I think that's the difference.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That I
Makes
can
sense.
get. So usually, and for anyone here who has never, oh, too loud, Jesus Christ. Okay, let's just get it up to 40s. Sorry, feedback loop. Is this okay now? Let us know because it takes about 30 seconds from when we change things to you guys listening. So send us a message and we'll do our best to make sure that you can actually listen to the music. Okay, I think now should be okay. Let's hope not. Let's hope it is. But for example, one thing that I don't know if many people or not everyone actually knows this, but when you're building dark modes, and as you were saying, like especially saturation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of that detail on brightness, you need to counterbalance it a lot. I'm actually having that trouble right now, which even included like I'm redoing all my light colors because what happened was when I was tweaking them to dark mode, I kind of like washed them all out, and now they feel like they have a too big of a jump from like a 400 or a 500, which is a mid-level color, to a 400, which is a
Mm,
lighter tone.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
many
yeah.
people kind of when they jump into design systems and into dark modes, they don't kind of like they don't think about that level of detail, especially when you're more used to doing more commercial and like marketing type of work.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
end
yeah,
up by
yeah, yeah.
defaulting into too strong colors because you think they are more punchy, but that's really bad on the way that you actually can read the thing. So
Yeah.
Uber being such a product centric, like app centric tool, having that little differences like brightness on the colors, it's really cool.
Yeah, and especially because their challenge is already dark, right? So they are dark mode either way because their brand
Mhm.
is black. So eventually they will have to learn at since the start. And also another challenge on dark mode is accessibility, right? Because I don't
Mhm.
think that they usually consider that, and I think it's a big challenge to do a good design and also be accessibility friendly at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the moment you're building an actual tool and not just like a marketing website and stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
you tend to have more space to play around. I think one of the elements that tends to be more fun to play around with when it comes to these tools is seeing how much you can play on the levels of shadows, for example, of dark modes, because
Yeah, yeah,
they're not going to
yeah.
be the same as when you're doing light mode. Like they're going
Yeah,
to be
it's
actually
so
very
different, the
different.
experience.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
completely
it's
different.
so
Like
weird.
unless you actually start designing in dark mode and start to
Yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
how things go. And for example, that's why I don't support Elon Musk, but I love Twitter as a tool even before he whatever. And
Yeah,
for
of
example,
course.
my dark mode on Twitter is actually the dark blue and not the black because I don't like the two contrast from the
Ah,
black because it
yeah,
feels
yeah,
much
yeah,
more natural to my eye that the softer color, and that's my preference as a user, and it feels a little bit more accessible for me than actually
yeah,
having that little like weird thing going on. But I
yeah.
don't know. I feel like this is actually really
Yeah,
cool and
and I
nice.
really like the samples of how the background it's named,
Hmm.
the token itself, and how it's implemented. So it's really cool to see that in action here. So it's a a visual documentation, let's say.
Hmm. Do you
So
want
it's
to
interesting.
lead a little bit and take us to the favorite parts of the document yourself? I can just
Yeah,
follow you a little bit.
yeah, sure. So the other thing that I found it interesting from the fact that they have a display very unique, right? You see this typography, and
Hmm.
you I think you assume right away that it's Uber. I found it very funny, and I never thought about it, that they have a typography more dedicated to numbers, and I think that makes total sense and to their reality, right? On
Hmm.
Uber, in Uber Eats, and I found it super funny that they have a typography only more dedicated to numbers. So it was really cool for me because I thought, oh yeah, because it's so round here that
Yeah.
perhaps they might have some complications in some users. So I think
Hmm.
it was very good for them to consider a more mono typography for
Yeah,
numbers, which I found it's interesting.
it
And
simplifies a lot of
also,
stuff, right? Like if you look at
yeah, yeah, yeah,
on a monospace, like you're working with exactly the same pixels for everything. You're not worrying about if it's gonna break too much. It's really really good.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting that because they are Uber and Uber Eats and so on, and travel, I think there are
Mhm.
probably others that I don't know yet. But it's interesting that I already think, okay, we now have use cases that the number is already a big display, so we just have the style right away defined. So I found it very interesting, not just the typical typography, right? So I found it very interesting as well. And yeah, I think they actually I actually give the same names as they have here. Like for big titles, I usually call display.
Mhm.
Sometimes I see highlight, but don't identify that much with that nomenclature. But I think it's okay. And
Yeah,
then
I
we
think
have here adding,
adding and
yeah,
label, and I actually
yeah,
okay. Of course, this always goes with whatever company wants to do with them, like
yeah. The
adding
culture
paragraph.
itself of nomenclature, yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
but I would
challenge.
say that having something as a display font, having something as a body font, and something as a label font might be a more balanced way of putting things. Or,
Yeah, yeah,
but here they add other types of details. Like my body font would be paragraph and headings, or if we want to have
mm.
headings, then we could apply, for example, a display font just to the headings or something like that. In a token
Yeah,
system, it actually is a display, for example, should be a modifier, while everything else kind of just has a baseline font, for example. I don't know.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
cool things that you can do, but I like the way that they set it up.
Yeah, for me, I also find it interesting and I really identify it. Then we have our beautiful grids that we see a little bit back then.
Yeah,
So yeah, small, medium, and large, and
margins and no
they seem
margins,
very
which is also
well.
cool.
And it's really cool that they have here as that light documentation that we sometimes looking for. So the margins and the gutter and the type of columns. So it's really cool
I'm
because
just
you
taking
sometimes
notes
don't
right
need
now.
to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. And also the more compact, maybe more focus on digital products, I believe. And this one might be a little bit more marketing,
Hmm.
just suspecting, of course. And then the avatar, right? Because eventually, if you're a user, you have an account and therefore you have a face to expose.
And it's
And this one,
and on
I
theirs is
found it
actually fun
interesting.
because it's the avatars
Yeah,
are super part of the experience, mostly on a two ends kind of thing. Like I don't know if anyone has
yeah,
ever thought of this, like, but it's not just us who see the drivers or see the guys that are bringing the food. They also see us. Right? That whole
yeah, yeah,
experience needs to
yeah,
be
for
somewhat
sure.
clear. So it's actually quite fun to see how it goes. Ooh, I
And
love
I found
the.
it, yeah, I
Can you
found it
just
funny
scroll down a
that
little bit?
this probably is Uber people that work there, and eventually they use it as a mock-up. In case that's really cool.
Yeah, but even if it's not, even if it's just like to test it out, I love the
Yeah,
fact that they have the regional namings with their
yeah, yeah, yeah.
regional um, alphabets. Oh, that
This one,
is a really
yeah,
good touch.
yeah,
Avatars equals
yeah.
trust. Thanks, Ismail. I
I
think that's also
wonder
a really cool.
if if you see something with 12 pixels, but maybe it's because I don't see that well. But yeah. And
I don't know
then
if you think
if you
about the way
see
that.
the face, maybe I can, yeah,
Yeah, I
maybe
was thinking
perhaps.
about the. It might be the preview of the profile. I'm actually gonna open an app right
Mm.
now just to look, like when you're. Uber doesn't let you change your avatar unless you contact them.
What? Insane.
So if you ever
Nice
were
touch.
drunk and I don't know, well, I can change mine. I don't know what you're talking about. Like I literally have an edit button. I don't know what you're talking about. There's a tool in Uber or Uber Eats, can remember Hui in this case, that allows you to see how the driver slash courier sees your profile. Okay,
Cool. The things that we learn.
avatars and license plates. That's what we think. But it's quite interesting to look at those and buttons. which again, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them. I think I've never seen so many buttons defined, and I found it so interesting. For instance, we have the regular button, but inside of this, we have multiple sizes or multiple functionalities, whether it is a drop down and an icon. I I really like to see the loading here on the button because it's not usual for me to see it, and it's a good touch when it comes to experience, in case you want to prototype it. So I
Hmm.
found it really cool. Um, yeah, and also because of their identity, I found it interesting that the secondary is gray. I think on this brand makes sense, but for me, I always associate it with the disabled
Yeah.
status. But here, I don't really connect that because maybe they are so consistent that it makes sense for me. You know, the narrative that they build. And also, I really like the spills. I think they, from what I remember, they work as a filter, but not sure. What do you think?
I think it is. I think
Um,
like it's one of the ways that they have their filters, especially on Uber Eats mostly.
yeah. I just remember when I was ordering McDonald's and the Big Mac, and I was trying to, to add more stuff, and I remember these pills buttons, but
Hmm.
I found it funny. Yeah. And then we
No,
have,
it's
yeah,
really
go
fun
ahead.
when we start looking at the tools and stuff. Like I'm now looking at the buttons on my phone
Yeah,
and see
on
like
my context, like the daily
are
basis.
they
Yeah.
matching? Are they actually working? So
Yeah, for sure.
and one of the things that I'm finding interesting immediately is if you go up buttons.
Yeah.
So
This here?
yeah, so the first action that I got was add something to promote some sort of discount. They don't show me a button. They show me a pill.
Ah, interesting.
So
Really?
they use pills as buttons too, um,
Okay.
which is
Interesting.
quite interesting. And then I can see
I
pills
think
as like labels for popular and stuff like that.
yeah. That's how I imagine this, like a tag, like a label that a chip, that you can
Yeah,
toggle it.
but I
Yeah,
think
so it's
let's see if
interesting.
I can show
Yeah.
it in the camera. I like little pill on the bottom of the
Ah,
so
yeah.
like their system has the square buttons that have the pill. So it's fun to see how then the
In
details
context,
are.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
in context, it's really funny. I think I usually see this big button on like when you end up to do an order, for instance.
yeah,
I think
checkouts.
it's
Yeah,
usually as a checkout. Yeah, thank you. And then eventually we have buttons medium and large with the same logic. Probably the padding changed a little bit. Yeah, on the top, but what I suspect. Yeah. And then
yeah.
this one, it's slightly different. Let me try to understand the name.
A
Okay.
rectangle primary,
Label on.
rectangle
Yeah. Ah, it's a pressed one, but actually they don't have it here. Interesting. This probably is more desktop friendly when you
yeah,
have
yeah.
the pressed. Oh, and then you have it, don't have that on mobile. So interesting. Yeah.
But they have the time buttons, which
Yeah, this one, right? Yeah. I think we can also jump to the page of the website
yeah, sure.
because there they have the simulator for a button. Yeah, you can play around.
Let me just go up
Yeah,
and button time. There we go.
yeah.
Ooh, that little label
It's really
going.
interesting, right? Because this is very specific to their experience, like order stuff and
Oops,
so on. So I find it funny.
I found an unexpected error. It's the magic of live
Amazing.
streams, fast scrolls and errors.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ah, there
yeah,
you go. You have a little bit of the tokens possible to use, perhaps, I think. Interesting. Yeah.
you can customize the theme through the theme provider
Yeah,
and
yeah,
set
yeah.
your own
Yeah,
colors.
yeah.
And these are like some this click.
Ah, okay. Can
Oh,
you
wait. So I can.
Ah, amazing.
Oh, so you need to click
Ah,
it before the time ends to actually confirm.
ah,
Interesting. And
yeah.
I love the playground,
Nice.
like the fact that you can actually play around with it.
Yeah, I think this is a very good setup to play around, actually. Yeah, Fine Fest. Interesting. Yeah.
Like, and
And
again,
then afterwards, you cannot. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
bot me.
Yeah.
Look at the designer playing with code. He's so happy. But
Yeah.
it's interesting how this thing, the code actually working right, and like, again, having this very solid documentation, having all of this like working side by side is super fun to like kind of just go through all of this.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to show anything else on the website, or should we go back to Figma?
Yeah, I think we can go back to Figma just to also give some time and see. I think they have a lot of inputs as well, and I thought because eventually they do a lot of forms, right? So it's interesting to see the inputs that they have, and they have
So
like a lot.
now is the audience moment to raise your hand if you had troubles building all these types of inputs for your system.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine? They even have like the password, and they have the DI to hide the password. So it's really cool. Like there's
But
no need to think about it. We already have it.
yeah, and I think
Yeah,
one really cool thing that I've been enjoying from seeing this file is the fact like this file literally is a gallery of elements because all the documentation exists outside the Figma file. Many times we tend to do a lot of documentation also inside the Figma file, especially if you don't have any other
yeah,
integration for
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
Storybook and such, right? So it's fun to see the this makes it so that the Figma file is so much cleaner, so much easier to work. And I actually
yeah.
haven't tested it out, but let me see what happens when we go to the information here. Expect. Aha! They
They
actually.
should put it a button, right? As a
Yeah,
link. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They don't use. And okay, so if you guys never use this, um,
yeah.
when you're
I know
building
because I
components,
already use it as well. It's very good. Yeah.
yeah, these ones actually don't have like they are copies of their original system, which is also really interesting.
Ah,
Uh,
oh, interesting. Yeah, because in case you maybe receive an update, eventually you will receive it here. That would be amazing, but not sure because it's a copy of the
eh,
Figma community.
it
I
can't.
don't think so, right?
Yeah, but let's say
That
for
would be
example,
too big.
yeah, one of the things that I don't know if everyone here knows, I just copied the field here for us to test out. Is let's say we have the input password enabled, and I detached it so that we can actually just there's some sort of item there,
Ah,
time the
okay, as
race.
an icon, yeah, as a copyright stuff. Interesting.
Interesting.
Very smoothly.
Very smooth. That layer there, like uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but yeah, when you're building components, the moment you turn this object into a component, so I'm going to do Control Alt K, or if you want to use the visual shortcut, you can click here on top where it says Create Component. And if you want to do right click, there's also the option component. There we go, Create Component. Yeah, so when you're building a component, here on the component configuration item that happens to show up on the right side, you can actually just not just have like keywords like this one has, but you can also have links to documentation. And what happens
yeah,
is, for example, in this case, we're looking for input passwords. So I'm just gonna look for that. Put password for passwords.
yeah.
You can easily
I
just
actually use a lot the description to use a lot of keywords because in case people know that component for something else when
yeah,
they're researching on the assets, it's really helpful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you can just drop a link here, which is great, and
Yeah.
then these keywords work really well because once you have those keywords, in case we have password input, and you come to your
Yeah.
assets, you go like enabled. All the things that actually have an enabled keyword are gonna show. Like
Yeah.
every little item that is enabled password, it's gonna give you password. So
Yeah.
super interesting to see how these work. Then what happens on the documentation side is if someone needs to use this on a file, when they come here, when you go to inspect, you actually get a link that says
Yeah.
view documentation that is sending you directly to the documentation. You can actually do this also inside Figma. Let's say that your documentation is on a Figma file. It also works. It just opens another Figma tab where the documentation is, and you can go directly at the place. And if
Yeah.
you don't know how
Yeah.
to get the links, it literally is just right click, copy a link, and it gets you a link to
Yeah.
the object,
That's
which is really cool.
actually very useful. And I usually forgot about that one, and it's very useful.
You can also
Thanks for reminding me of that one.
you can also use links to pages,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that's it. But yeah, like that was like now I had a sad moment. Like, oh, they are doing everything right. Oh, they don't use the documentation button.
Yeah.
Heartbroken. Do you guys?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
got another question. Bring the comments. But do you guys use all the documentation features that Figma offers, or do you all prefer to put it outside of Figma?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think really depends how involved you are with Figma in your company and if you have tools to document or not, because that might be another budget to tool. And in case you can justify that you can only use Figma, eventually I think you will do everything on Figma. But in case the company has more documentation tools, eventually you will start to integrate and so on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, I think we have already seen a bunch of these. So you want to play around in the file a little bit? Let's try and build some things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna actually build another page for us to play with, playground, and this is a Friends of Figma um, thing. What I'm gonna do is edit, copy link. If you guys want to join, I'm dropping the link on the chat. Join us in the file. Come play in the playground. Come build some. We would love to have you here. How do you feel having all the components in the same page and not separate? I don't have
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah.
so I don't have any issues with this because this needs to happen because it's a Figma file that people duplicate on the community, the Figma community file. But if you're building the system internally, I am of the opinion that you subdivide it into whatever way works best for you and your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my case, honest to God, sometimes it's painful. I've worked with libraries and people that use like files. Even I've opened some files from Figma are like that. I've worked with some files from our company from other teams that are a little bit like that. We try to separate a little more, or at least subdivide it into levels like core components and core system things go on one place, while some others might go into other locations just because we want to kind of like save some space file. But yeah, like as more
Yeah.
complex the more complex you make your file,
Yeah.
the harder it will be to work on it because it becomes heavier. So yeah, but yeah, like guys, we have the playground file, playground page. If you want to just build things with the design system, see how it runs, do some tests. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Just play around with it here. Try to use the styles that come on it. Gonna go like bold and do display. Does this work, or
And
do I not have the font?
just to add a little bit of a tip when organizing layers, in case you use artboards and pages itself, when you have the pastes on the assets column on the left, right, he will present you with that organization. So you will have the page level and then you have the artboard level. So it's very useful. You kind of create briefs in it. Yeah. Oh,
We don't have the
interesting.
fonts. We don't have the fonts. I'm
Ah,
sad, very sad. So I'm just gonna copy their style.
interesting. Yeah. That's a good thing for us to remind on the next episode. To style. To style
Well, I don't know.
before.
Do they have
That's
fonts?
also a good point. Do they have it on the channel? Not sure.
I'm looking.
Yeah, because it's an open source, maybe it's more internal file, probably.
Yeah, I
Or
think
I'm
they're.
not sure if the Google font. Not sure.
No, it's not. It's their own font. If you
It's
look at
their own. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so here on the
yeah,
top right corner, guys, when you have this A with a little question mark, it's because you're missing fonts. Here we can see that they
yeah,
use SF Pro, so iOS font, and Ubermove, which is their own personal font that they built. They created when they did the brand update. So unfortunately, we can't use those. But I'm just gonna play around and see if I can replicate their styles a little bit. Um, so this Ubermove median 96, 112, 64. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing, 64, and yeah, I want a small, so the 4.
Can you just change to Figma?
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah.
Wrong place. Not so open source. There you go. Well, in theory, yes, because the fact is, okay, let's put it like this. I don't want to do it because that's going to break the file. But one cool thing about Figma is that you can actually just choose the font that you want to change everything. So, for the sake of the exercise, so that we don't lose this much time, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put everything using Inker. So, everything on the system is just going to basically break a little bit. Sorry about that. It's going to look different. Well, actually, no. Let's do one thing. For the monos, I'm going to use IBM Plex Mono. Which is actually another company font, but this one is actually open for everyone who wants to use. I'm going to use IBM Plex and for all of it. Regular. Right. Awesome. Place fonts. And the entire file is going to crash. I don't know. There's way too many things moving at the same time. Let's see how it goes.
Let's hope not. Yeah.
On my end, it's slow. But the fact is, like, when you do this and you replace the fonts like I just did, what's happening is right now all the base components are just readjusting to the new font. And with all the things that you've seen in this file, of course, this is going to... while this happens on the background, back to the right, a bit into the animation again. See some of the options that you have. Again, I really love the way that they have all of these details set up. To the point where you can even see stuff like this, which is one of the components that I always feel like is really interesting.
Yeah. The payment input. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys ever have it to add to design. I'm actually going through a side project that I'm actually having to design stuff like this, and were you saying that as an open source design system, that one is supposed to be able to quickly fork and adapt? Doing this font change exercise is actually a cool way to see how robust it is for that purpose. Yeah, because right now it's just like on the background trying to figure out how to work. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to open the file again, but I'll try to see. But okay, anyways, one really cool thing that I love. Okay, it finished. So just as an FYI, it is done. It now has the styles, so you guys can play around with the actual styles because they should work exactly. There you go. They are working. I can play with the other layouts. Just finishing this on this component. One of the really cool things that I love about this specific component is the states. I don't know if you guys ever had to design this, but I love when it goes from the little card to the specific provider, like MasterCard or Visa. With
yeah. The changes.
The changes.
Yeah.
I would love to see it go like bank-wise. Like it gives you the logo of your bank. That would be like the worst nightmare to implement, but an amazing detail. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like we really know you, so here's your bank. Yeah.
Creepy. Okay. What can we build with? What can we build? Okay, I'm just gonna go to the components page, try to get some. I hope that the file didn't broke for everyone. You can actually. What do we want? We want star ratings. Really cool thing. Let's get a star rating here. Put it in the other layout. Let's make it so that it is wait, I don't know. Let's sing it. The Portuguese delicacy.
Of course.
I don't know. Ooh, I'm making a Big Mac.
Yeah, just playing around.
Just gonna put it. Colors. This blue. And
another shortcut that I really use without even noticing, it's the auto layout one. So how can I say the keyboard Shift A? Yeah, sorry. But Shift A is like automatic. It really, I don't even think anymore. And it's a really cool tip in case you don't know it yet.
Do you have anything for image assets?
That's a good thinking. I don't see anything.
So we have gallery image. From all libraries. So yeah, no, not image.
That's interesting because they are very visual, right? It should be some kind of guideline or an example here. So yeah.
Nope, it's getting other libraries, so it's interesting that you can actually.
In
Um,
case you follow me, they have some examples when doing a card or a model in mobile, for instance. Yeah,
and these
this type of
actually
examples.
interestingly enough, the way that they are built, let's put it on outline mode. And by the way, if you've never used outline mode, it's always fun to see what happens.
Yeah, because you see, yeah, absolutely. It's
Um,
amazing.
okay,
You see all the
I'm,
lines.
am I great crazy? Oh, it's the crop. Ooh, I was trying to understand what all of those little squares were. That's the image being cropped.
Yeah.
What is this? Now I'm very.
Lost files?
It's a video.
Ah, okay. The things you find out.
There's a video here
Ah,
with a GIF of what?
something.
Ooh, it's the shininess on the.
Ah,
It's the shininess
interesting.
on the badge. That's so
Ah,
cool. The details, and you start like looking at
yeah.
little things.
Yeah, you
Read in your
probably
food
will see it
photography.
on
Don't do that.
prototype.
Sorry, Ishmael. Well, we still have like 20 minutes of this, so we're gonna find a lot of these photos. But I hope that I don't show too much things. So Hui is also saying, I actually finished watching Super Pumped yesterday. The show spends a bit on Kalanik's pursuit of driverless Ubers. So update an Uber screen with driverless car details instead of real drivers. That could be fun. Um, they actually have like full screen.
Let me see. For what I found out,
Or I need to
no, I
just
think
they have like
yeah,
little
they have
blocks and elements.
the model, which is very characteristic for them.
Let me try and figure out if I can find like a browser. Guys, let me know. Uber app. Let's see if we can find like an example.
Yeah, you want
Or
to
if anyone
replicate,
finds
right?
it faster, send us a link on the chat. We would love to play around with that. And I think I already got it. So in theory, that would be it, right? This little 1 year
Yeah.
back to Figma.
And they actually have that model on mobile, so it's interesting to see how it works. Yeah.
Oh, here.
Ah,
Okay.
oh, there you go.
It's taking a while to load. So in theory, what we need to change is this part here. What would you say? Silver on the Civic? Period? Like meet the driver would be meet your car. I'm thinking about the copy immediately because like even the rating here, like there's no face. What would you do? Put a robot?
Yeah.
I think that one could be fun. Okay, let me try and see. I actually, unfortunately, I think that this is set up as a duplicate with just the copies of the system, not the actual components. It's harder to actually pick. So maybe this is a good feedback for the Hoover base team. Like, make these base components and don't make people having to go back to try and figure out how this goes. If you guys are ever watching this, here to help. We love to give feedback on things that we haven't worked on.
Yeah. It's a friendly reminder.
But yeah, we can. Let's see if I can find. I don't think it is allowing me to find the items. It's always going out or not. No, actually, avatar is coming up, so we can get an avatar.
There you go.
Then like
The
this
car, they
resolution.
actually don't have it. Yeah, it's interesting the base of the photos that they might have of multiple cars. In case you can figure it out, there will be a lot.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make this like smaller.
Yeah, so you'd have a scale.
Yeah, so I have like a scale
And
reference.
also, it might be fun for them to have some kind of image, even though it's just a thumbnail of those GPS, because it seems also very graphic from them.
Yeah, but again, like if they're
Doesn't seem
using,
like
if
Google
they are trying to
stuff.
make um, Hoover system,
Yeah, because the
it would make
Figma
sense.
file
But
seems to
they are
be
trying
more
to.
Uber focused, and then yeah. So it might be interesting to see more assets, the visual ones.
So what layout should we here? small one, 4 columns. I think that's it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, seems like it.
Okay, so
Let me-
figuring out, call it driver update. Wait a little bit for the driver there. Okay. So there's no map at all.
I don't think so. At least I didn't
Look, I
find
found
it
map
out on
stuff.
the assets.
I found map stuff. But what I found apparently, just a car.
Ah, okay. Like, oh, the tiny icon that you sometimes get desperate when it's not updating.
Yeah. So what else do we have? We have Uber SUV, Uber taxi.
Oh, amazing. I didn't notice that they changed.
Oh yeah. And actually, I remember not Uber but Lyft a few years ago doing really cool work with like the representation of the little vehicles. So it's always fun to see how they represent. And it's also interesting because I'm pretty sure that they don't have all of them here. Because I've seen some of them being so personalized to the point where some of them actually look like the models of cars people drive.
Yeah, in that point, Jesus, that's good.
Yeah, it's fun to see the cars here. Yeah, but unfortunately, yeah, I don't see any map. Let's go to the website and see how they handle map. Maybe they have usage of a specific tool for maps like map.
Ah, yeah.
So it went to typography
Let's see.
mapping. So that's not it.
Ah, you have a map marker more when you scroll down a little bit on the right, on the left side. Sorry, when you have getting started, guides, components, and then if you scroll a little bit, you have map marker. Not sure what it is, but yeah, yeah. Let's see what it is. Oh, okay, that's the okay.
Text
Yeah,
markers.
yeah, that's probably when you confirm your spot for him to get you.
Yeah, and then location puck. Little
Yeah.
arrow.
Ah, the tiny. Yeah, yeah.
This is actually cool.
Interesting.
You need some hotkeys software next time. Okay, cool. We need to figure out software that node. Okay, I'm just gonna then really just use whatever I have at hand, which is, by the way, if you never use this, there's this plugin called Map Cycle.
Ah,
So
cool.
MapCycle runs on Mapbox, which is a really cool system. Basically, you can generate maps, so you don't need to go like Google Maps to take screenshots of things. And Mapbox, if you create an account, you can get to the point where you can even select a style through a list of styles that you own. In this case, Uber style is very similar to Light, so we can just use that. If we use the token from their API, we can actually build something even cooler, which is our own stylization of the maps. So if you ever need
Interesting.
it,
Like you can give a street name and
you can
he identify
basically,
it.
usually you can
Ah,
select
okay, you
like,
have the coordinations, yeah.
yeah, let's say that we want to use Lisbon, for example. Zoom out, this is almost like a Google Map thing. You zoom in, and through the coordinates, you can basically select what you want. And on the style, when you have the token, you can actually like drop a link to your own styles or styles from their website. And they go and access like new stuff. And I don't know where I am. I'm pressed on Twitter or whatever. I just like create map, and it basically creates a little screenshot or a JPEG image. Right now, it's using as a fill of the full thing, and we have the map there. Yeah,
Cool. And it's a very appealing visual. It's not that, Google Maps print, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It's good.
what else do we have on the map? What we have are the any of these the icons that we limits safety? Safety is one of them. We found one of the icons.
Actually, the 2 minutes is very characteristic. It would be fun to try to understand how they name it. Like, is it a display or highlight or minutes or something? That could be interesting. because it's a very characteristic thing on their experience, right? And maybe it's that kind of button that it's a square, the ones the first ones. Yeah. But yeah, the
So
square 30, I think.
yeah, so you would at button,
Yeah,
then
it seems
choose your
this
model.
one
So rectangle,
the most.
uh, layout.
I found this one, but not sure. It's still not that one. Let me see if I found it. Because that
Primary,
actually a very characteristic one. So it might be interesting to
ETA, timer
understand.
count, and active. Okay, I found the active. I'm looking
Okay.
at label plus label bottom. Where still isn't the same. It
Yeah.
feels like the same thing, but it's not the same. So there also
Yeah.
might be something here that is happening because some of these don't actually work if you look at the way that we're playing around. Like, I can move from primary to secondary. Like it breaks once you start going to primary because it actually doesn't exist. Which, by the way, for me, it's bad. It's bad system because you're
Yeah, the variants should always have a pair, otherwise it will start to break. Yeah.
so active, and then again it's secondary and it's the label plus label bottom. Where the one that you brought. This is the closest that I can get.
Yeah.
Which not cool. So now
We
it's
also
getting
have
again
this one, but not sure if you should modify the text here inside.
finding issues
Seems
with the
weird.
fonts again. Figure that one out.
Maybe if you see it like this one, but still not that. Like I just put it in enter and put it minutes.
It's not the same thing. It still has two styles. So it might be the same, but we might need to just adjust the styles ourselves, which is weird. But it's fun to see how it goes, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but again, for a system that should work easily, it actually isn't working as well as we would thought, right? Like you want the 2 minutes, so you would have something like 2 minutes,
Yeah. And
and
actually I
then
just changed for large and then he just behaved a little bit different and then broke a little. Maybe it's because of the font, probably. Let's hope.
okay, so it should be label large, but that one is also not to X small. Trying to figure out small, like the 2 minutes is the small,
Yeah,
and then the minutes should be label
a
large.
little bit slighter. Uh, yeah, more thinner or more smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
something like
the font
this.
sizes are not exactly perfect. That's all I can say. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out
Or
how they.
probably this is an old screen and then they designed this at the moment in a different way, perhaps.
It could be. It could be for sure. Okay, just gonna copy this text really fast. By the way, I'm using a tool on Windows that also that Macs also have that like a screen text. So when I take a screenshot, it just copies it.
Cool.
And, and if you don't
Ah,
have that tool on your system, actually, I believe that there is a plugin in Figma, which text RT something. I never remember that. Text from image. OCR, sorry. Text from image. There you go.
OCR.
Yeah, and this thing does the same thing. You want to get any text from an image, you select, you run a plugin called text to image that runs an OCR technology, and it literally just copies the text that exists in it, whatever you want. Guys, I'm gonna select this image here, run the plugin, and it copies. Now I can
Yeah.
paste.
I'm sharing stuff that I might found out in terms
Ooh,
of
I don't have
components and
I don't
put it
have this.
here for you. This is the closest that I found for the model. Let me see that round input if I can find it.
let's see. We have like 5 minutes so that we don't really extend this a little bit too much. So let's see that if I can do at least.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. If we ignore some of their things, maybe I can do it.
Yeah, actually, they don't have the round. That's probably it's an old version. They don't have any input round actually, so it's interesting. At
Which
least
is
the file is the most current one, and maybe we are using a print screen a little bit older
so.
because I don't
Let's just
find
do
any.
see. Last update was 11 months on Figma. So that's actually something that you can actually see on the community. Always says when it was last updated. So maybe
Oh, cool.
there should be like an updated version. Yeah. Um, on the layouts, by the way, and also one really cool thing that I noticed is layouts on outer layout didn't work. Layout grids up until very recently. Now you can actually, which is which is somewhat instant. Okay. Button, fix marker, loading. Oh, this is actually to just fit in here.
It's probably a pill, perhaps, but it's an input, so I'm not sure.
Bit padding here. Starting to look like that. What else do we
Yeah.
have? We have the
So
little
this is
pull
the
tab.
closest of the model, and then we have this type of models. So it's a little bit painful to detach to see things working in case you want to add the avatar and the car and the information of the car.
Oh,
Send the message.
I enter the I'm gonna break things. That's what I did. I'm trying to copy things. Oh, so interesting stuff. We're looking at
And then you have there a light, whether it's a shadow or maybe a border between the 2-minute information into the car plus the avatar. Yeah.
and that comes with the header. There you go. The header
Ah.
has the little which
Okay, so then they assume that that header is the information that you created there.
has an auto layout. The auto layout as 65, and then the text is. Why does the text have the space? The auto layout has the content. The auto layout only. Click on the title. He actually has a.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how it's built. Apparently, so it gives me a 12, 12, 16. So I'm just gonna add here.
Oh, let me just try one thing. Okay, because I found that that's a subcomponent inside. It's not working, but if you select that, you can see other possibilities here as a paragraph, label, display, heading. I was hopefully searching for another display, but no, sorry.
Nope, nope, nope. Didn't really work, but it's how it kind of goes. Because
Title only, hint only. Description and title and description. Okay.
trying to
And
see
then
where the top corners came from. I mean, ooh, you got the tab. You found the tab.
yeah. It's the draggable. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna
Then
replace the whole thing.
define progress even. Amazing. Okay, so there's a lot of Easter eggs inside of this.
It's a matter of
Action
finding those.
reading. Oh, look what I'm finding out. Action trailing. Interesting. Okay.
Gonna make it so that it's play around with that.
Okay.
Draggable is what we needed. But I think what I'm gonna do is like I'm just gonna break it again and just try to what we have on the right. They're little parts, but not all of them. The grabber, I can drop it here, put it on top. Right, and then corners. So if I take this, we're at least getting somewhere, right? Like getting some idea of how this should. Fun
Yeah.
enough, have you noticed how they use this grid here, which is 4-point grid? I already have like little
Mm.
4-point increments. The UI
That's
kind of matches.
interesting. Yeah, that's a very good observation. Yeah, because sometimes it might break a little bit. So it's
I'm just
good.
gonna go in like old dude mode and then gonna put like a
Yeah.
guideline so I know more or less where this goes. See where it should match, and the actual guidelines. And, okay. Oop. Hang on. You want to like build the icons part, little icon bar here on the right, while I try to build the car part on the bottom.
Yeah. Let's try it out. So it should be fun searching for icons, right? I think it's also a big pain point.
Also, I'm gonna just
It's probably here, GPS. Location.
location puck. That was you also get a location puck if you want to design your map. You have a little there. You need more avatar that we have. Avatar doesn't have the star ratings, like star ratings.
Cannot find. I'm
Wait,
trying a lot of keywords.
that's
Interesting.
okay.
Oh,
Actually that star rating is RPO. Label leading. Okay, this is what I need. Okay. Smaller side that I can get is this. But then this should exist inside. No. Becoming harder and harder. Wait, that's time picker element. It's round.
ah, why?
Look, look. This is a 2-minute thing.
Ah,
The fonts are broken, but it's a 2-minute for second.
amazing range start. Okay.
This is the most close thing that I found to a 2-minute, but it's still a picker, not a showcase. It's interesting how like we
Okay.
can find things while we're playing around it.
Yeah, I didn't find that kind of input because it's a round one, and I didn't find it actually. So yeah, I found it like the two icons. Reach for the phone one.
Oh, I have another tip on this. There's a pill option. Where I here. Okay. Wait, did you found this? Here we go. Like this on a secondary active.
Yeah,
Because this
on
is a
this one, I thought
button.
it was be a yeah, I thought it was be a pill one with an icon, perhaps.
It
Yeah.
is, but again, like this is not as easy to use because I need to detach it. Like, but even then, the padding is
Mm,
not correct because it's too big,
yeah, yeah.
and the I think it has a little shadow that this doesn't have. The image has a stroke that this doesn't have. Like avatar image has a little white stroke outside. This will most likely have padding that it's. Then here's the thing: we need a car as a driver or a robot. It's gonna go in and spot. Okay, I'm gonna give us like 8 minutes to finish because it's 8:06. Like, give us 5 to 8 minutes to finish and then stop because we're a little bit going over time on the.
It's a little bit addictive to try to build.
Oh, come on! Can I find like an image where you can actually see the car? Oh, I see what they're all on film,
Okay.
like a
You have
little
to put
car.
it on. Yeah,
They are on
yeah.
cropping on. Then, well, I can try in one. I don't think I'm just gonna do a really weird thing. Take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna put it over here on the side, and I'm gonna use icon set background remover. I'm just let's see if we can find it.
Ah, as a Google search.
No, 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 no. If you can find like the edges of the thing, or if it's gonna look really weird.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Struggling. It's struggling. It's not a good image for a background remover because there's a lot of white. But it's fun
Yeah,
again, like picking up all of these elements, trying to figure out how the system works. Might not be the best thing. And what happens with this design systems is the fact that you can actually just duplicate it makes it easier for you to play. And again, this is a playground file. We're just seeing if we can do really quick exercise with this. But what I
yeah,
feel with most of these is like many times you need to unboard a lot. Um,
for sure. I think it's
Meaning,
good for exploration. Yeah,
yeah, you need to learn about a lot about how you kind of like want to do this. You need to figure a lot of things out. Um, like read a lot of documentation, try to understand how things go. Just because it's not that easy to run. Just picking up the items and trying to build. Not perfect. It works. It's not impossible, but it's not that easy.
yeah, yeah. I think Uber needs to onboard us.
Hey, you were here to be onboarded. I'm just. Oh, does it work? Input. Aha.
Yeah, that's not a actual the best input, but that's the closest that I found out because I didn't find any input round. So maybe it was an update, a visual one that they did because they, at least here on the Figma community file, they only have square inputs. They don't have that tiny. But I thought also it could be a pill and a little bit longer, but isn't a button though? Because it should be an input, right? Because you're sending the message. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying that because again, I need to break it to actually make it work. For some
Yeah,
reason,
yeah.
it wasn't. Or no, wait, it was my fault. Actually, I don't need to. I was using it wrong because I kept the whole thing big. So this is what. Yeah.
Yeah. You use the fill container. Yeah. And then you give some spacing. Yeah.
And
But
layout.
hey, we did it like in 15 minutes. So imagine with the whole time. So
Like driverless. Drop it there. Thing centered.
yeah.
I'm just gonna use a split to put the text here. Layers. I've never used that, but it's
Ah, that's actually a good tip to, yeah,
like
to separate it when
separate
you
text really
join too much.
fast when you do like a lot of copy pasting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
separates the
That's
text
good.
layers. But yeah, I'll put this so that they centered, and so I'm guessing this is not display. This is probably an heading, all one. They might have used the regular square input and then it looked weird next round, then customized it. Definitely a possibility for sure. Definitely. And then ooh, couldn't read Civic, so he read like C, like it happens.
Civic.
It's a silver on the Civic. Um, Probably this work. We go to typography. Ooh, what does this do?
Interesting. Actually, yeah. Does this allows you that, yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, it gives you basically the right now.
Okay.
Just go with the height or 0 because these already have like very well defined sizes. And I'm still missing a car photo as I could. I'm just gonna try and see if there's like a car on that splash with a white back. I don't know.
I can also do that cliche search of on the Civic
Best,
transparent background.
best one,
It's
best one. Hey, this is the best one.
amazing.
And now I'm gonna remove the background. Let's see how it goes. Come on, now you need to work. This one is easier. The other one, like, it took ages to run. Usually this plugin takes some time, but not that much. I'm just waiting for it to work. Oh, come on. Today doesn't want help. It's gonna take too much time. I'm feeling it. It's gonna be mad at me. It's like, nope. But we can still use this. Like, the background is white, so
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
can play around with the image. I'm not gonna flip it because the Jaguar thing. Uh, Here,
Then
it
you
is
group
to.
perhaps to do the overlay.
I just need an auto layout and then play around with this.
Ah,
And
you played the negative. Okay,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
exactly. And then first on top.
Ah, good one.
So you can actually choose what layer goes on top if it's first or the last layer.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Maybe you should flip it horizontally. Yeah.
We can.
The
Sure.
image.
It's not perfect white. See, that's why I
You
want the
can you
background
can
to look.
adjust the contrast a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
let's make let's. It's cheat day. No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Come on. Let's do this. Let's instead of let's just make the highlights like really bright. No, it needs. There you go. I like it. What are we missing? And it's like some text on the bottom. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, but still, like, okay, we know that it's not perfect. But if we play around with it on a prototype really fast, so. By the way, does anyone else's Figma does this, where the window kind of like just resizes when you click on the little play button and stuff like that?
Actually, I don't recall for that happened to me, but I will check out in case it happens that I don't notice. But yeah.
Ah, come. Figma not responding. File is too big. Who was the person? Katya. Katya was complaining about the file being too big. Here it is, the result. Type so. phone that I chose, which is there you go.
There you go.
Not perfect, yes, we know. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but we
We are
did it
not
like
Uber
very
design.
quickly. So yeah, with more time studying the components itself, I think it has a lot of potential.
Being
Sure.
onboarded to the system also might help. But it's fun.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
it's fun to just put it there. Like we could even we were saying to make it like okay, meet your car and like being like self-driving cars. Also, I love the fact that our self-driving car is so modern that it's built with Legos. Um, but that's it. I think like we already had a lot of time here. It's like 8:15. Been almost 2 hours of this. I'm just gonna say thanks everyone that attended. Thanks everyone that commented. Happy that you had fun with us and had to say Raquel.
Yeah, I have fun a lot as well, and I hope everything that were listening to us have learned something because that's the goal here, right? To share knowledge, to share thoughts, and share experience with design systems. So go ahead and share your feedback in case you like some suggestions or not. Maybe try to guess the next episode. Might be fun.
Or give suggestions for the next episode, which would also be really cool.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
you can join us on friends.figma.com/Portugal. So you can find all of our events there. We're planning on doing more of these. We're planning on doing a few more live events all around the country, wherever we can. Mostly probably around Lisbon and Porto and Braga, where we have the team, but we'll try to do some different things. And let us know again what you need. We're gonna keep unboxing design systems. Maybe not just me and Raquel, maybe other members of our team.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I hope to see you all in an event soon.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay.
And thank you for sharing time with us.
Okay. Bye everyone. Yeah.